Imagine a warm summer night in the rolling countryside of Florence, Italy. The air is thick with the scent of cypress trees, the stars glisten overhead, and couples park their cars in the quiet hills, escaping for a moment of romance. But lurking in the darkness, someone is watching, waiting, and in an instant, that peaceful night turns into a nightmare. Between 1968 and 1985, a shadowy figure known as Il Mostro di Firenze, the Monster of Florence, stalked young lovers, turning their most intimate moments into scenes of horror. He struck with precision, leaving behind gruesome crime scenes and a trail of fear that gripped Italy for nearly 2 decades. Despite one of the most intense investigations in Italian history, the monster was never caught. Who was he? Why did he kill? And why did he suddenly stop? This is the chilling story of the Monster of Florence, Italy's most elusive and terrifying serial killer. It started like a tragic crime of passion. On August 21, 1968, Antonio Lo Bianco and his mistress, Barbara Loci, were found shot to death inside a car parked near Signa, a small town outside Florence. The bullets that ended their lives came from a .22 caliber Beretta pistol. But the most chilling part? Barbara's 6-year-old son, Natalino, was in the back seat. The boy, in a daze, walked to a nearby house and knocked on the door, saying, "Open up, I'm sleepy, and my daddy is sick in the car." The police arrived and immediately suspected Barbara's husband, Stefano Mele. Mele was weak, submissive, and known to be jealous of his wife's affairs. Under pressure, he confessed, but something felt off. His confession was full of contradictions. He hinted at the involvement of other men but refused to name them. Mele was sentenced to 14 years in prison. Case closed, right? Not even close, because 6 years later the killings began again, and this time, they followed a terrifying pattern. On September 14, 1974, 19-year-old Pasquale Gentilcore and his girlfriend, 18-year-old Stefania Pettini, were found murdered in their car in a remote area near Borgo San Lorenzo. Like before, the weapon was a .22 caliber Beretta. But this time, the killer did something new, something deeply disturbing. Stefania was not only shot but stabbed repeatedly. The wounds were precise, almost surgical, and on her body, the killer left a chilling signature, a deep wound in the shape of a cross. The police knew they had a monster on their hands, but they had no idea how many times he would strike again. Between 1981 and 1985, the Monster of Florence carried out 6 more attacks, each one more gruesome than the last. June 6, 1981, Giovanni Foghi and Carmela Denuccio were murdered. The killer took a grisly trophy, cutting off part of Carmela's body. On October 23, 1981, Stefano Baldi, a workman, and Susanna Cambi, a telephonist, who were engaged, were brutally attacked in a park near Calenzano. Both were shot and stabbed in a horrifying act of violence. June 19, 1982. Paolo Mainardi and Antonella Migliorini were attacked. Paolo desperately tried to escape, but the killer shot him through the window. By now, Florence was in a state of panic. Couples avoided the countryside, terrified of the faceless predator stalking the night. September 9, 1983. 2 German tourists, Horst Meyer and Uwe Rusch, were shot in their van. The killer may have mistaken Uwe for a woman because of his long hair. On July 29, 1984, law student Claudio Stefanacci and barmaid Pia Gilda Rontini were brutally attacked in a woodland area near Vicchio. They were shot and stabbed while inside Stefanacci's Fiat Panda. With each murder, the Monster of Florence perfected his sickening routine. He always used the same .22 caliber Beretta and Winchester Series H bullets. His targets were always couples in isolated areas. And most disturbingly, he had a ritual. After killing the man first, he would focus on the woman. He mutilated his female victims with chilling precision, taking specific body parts as if they were trophies. This led investigators to a horrifying theory. The killer might have medical knowledge. Was he a doctor? A butcher? Or was there something even more sinister at play? The nightmare reached its peak in 1985, with one last horrifying attack. On September 7, 1985, Jean-Michel Kravitchvili and Nadine Morio, a French couple camping near Florence, were found butchered. The monster had taken his time. He had escalated his violence. And then, he vanished. No more murders, no more cryptic clues. Just silence. Why did he stop? Did he die? Was he arrested for another crime? Or had he finally achieved whatever twisted satisfaction he was seeking? The Monster of Florence case became one of the longest and most frustrating investigations in Italian history. The police arrested multiple suspects over the years, but no one was ever definitively linked to all of the murders. One of the most infamous suspects was Pietro Pacciani, a farmer with a violent history. He was arrested in 1993 and convicted, but his conviction was later overturned. He died before a retrial could take place. Then came the bizarre theory that the murders were part of a satanic ritual. Some investigators believed the monster was not just one man, but a group, a secret cult carrying out ritualistic killings. This theory was fueled by the precise mutilations and an anonymous letter claiming the victims were offerings. Another theory pointed back to Stefano Mele, the man convicted of the 1968 murders. Some detectives believed the real killers were connected to a Sardinian criminal network. But if that was true, why did the killings continue while Mele was in prison? The deeper the investigation went, the stranger it became. Theories ranged from organized crime to government cover-ups, but no hard evidence ever surfaced, and the Monster of Florence was never found. One of the biggest questions surrounding the case is why the killings stopped in 1985. Theories abound, but none of them can offer a definitive answer. Could it be that the monster simply died? It's possible that the killer was an older man, and after years of terrorizing the region, his time finally came to an end. Or perhaps he was arrested for another crime entirely, something that had nothing to do with the murders he committed. Serial killers sometimes stop when they get caught for other offenses, their compulsions either forgotten or ignored by the law until it's too late to connect the dots. Then again, some speculate that the monster lost interest. Maybe after the final murder in 1985, he felt as though he had completed his twisted mission. Perhaps the satisfaction he once derived from the killings faded, or he found that the fantasy he had been chasing was no longer enough to fuel his desire. But what if the truth is even darker and more unsettling? What if the monster didn't stop at all? What if he simply moved on, changed cities, left the country, found new victims somewhere else? The chilling thought that he could still be out there, continuing his reign of terror in silence, is the one that haunts those who investigate the case to this day. The Monster of Florence case remains one of the most terrifying and baffling unsolved serial murders in history. It has inspired books, documentaries, and even Hollywood movies. Famed crime writer Douglas Preston moved to Florence to research the case, only to find himself under investigation by the police, proving just how deeply this mystery still haunts Italy. More than 50 years later, the Tuscan hills still whisper the name of a predator who walked among them, unseen and unstoppable. Somewhere, out there, someone knows the truth. Someone knows the face of the Monster of Florence. But will we ever uncover his identity? Or will his shadow forever linger over the beautiful countryside? A reminder that even the most breathtaking places can hide unspeakable horrors. If you found this story chilling, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think the Monster of Florence was ever caught but never identified? Or is he still out there, a ghost in the night? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more unsolved mysteries and true crime stories.